Hi, everybody. Welcome back. It's Word Balloon Live. John Suntress here with a matinee, which is good because it accommodates our European audience. So welcome, everybody over the sea. Great to see you all, and really happy to welcome back Scott Snyder. Good to see you, Scott.
It's great to see you too, John. Thanks for having me on again.
Oh, it's my pleasure, bud. Seriously, we could do it every week. You know that. Because you make that kind of news every week with all the things you have going on. I do want to start with your newest project, a great Kickstarter campaign that started today, and it's you and a favorite collaborator of yours, Tony Daniel. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, Tony's been a friend since like 2011. We basically switched titles back then. We were already kind of friendly, and then he was on Batman, I was on Detective, and then we swapped. DC asked us to kind of switch places, and so we became pretty close back then, coordinating plans and just all the pressure of the New 52. And so we kind of circled each other a bunch over the years, where we did some Batman Eternal, and he did some standalone stuff for metal and death metal. But we've been talking about doing a project together for a while. And, you know, about a year plus ago, I bumped into him at San Diego, and we were talking about both of us wanting to be more committed to create our own this year. You know, still keep a foot in superhero comics, but just make a more committed attempt to do our own work. And
sure,
our schedules just lined up, and I had this idea for this series that I thought would be a great launching point for solo create our own work again. And so the idea was basically, you know, as a kid, I was pretty deathly afraid of the dark. I was like a pretty crippling fear of it for a while. And I remember like going out with a flashlight and you know, seeing how long I could turn it off and stand there and be brave before I had to turn it back on, all that kind of stuff in our hallway. And so when I saw my kids going through some of the same stuff, it gave me this idea for a story where the Earth wakes up one morning and the sunlight just has stopped reaching the planet. So we're plunged into an eternal night. No one knows why, whether it's supernatural, a biblical plague, scientific, cosmic. And then what they learn about this new darkness is that it actually changes any living creature that's submerged in it for more than about 48 hours into something called a shade, which is this monstrous and kind of predatory version of itself. So I knew I had a special idea with this one. I wanted the main character to be somebody who was a trucker in this world and carried people from town to town in this kind of weaponized vehicle with all sorts of lights over it, armed with all these different lights to sort of, you know, defend itself against these monsters along these unlit roads. And I was talking to Tony about it. I was like, you know, I think your art's perfect for it because it's muscular and dynamic, it's high octane, and yet at the same time, you're great with design, you're great at acting. And he was really hungry to sort of get back into create our own too. So we gelled on this project and we started setting it up about, over a year ago. And then the reason that we're doing Kickstarter and why we thought this might be a good way to sort of launch it was we already have a commitment from Image. They're great. They've been a great place for me to publish Witches and After Death, and you know, and I love them. But when COVID hit and the industry kind of contracted and shut down for a while, it made me realize that we wanted to do something here that would safeguard the series against that kind of disruption or interruption, so that we wouldn't have to scramble and go back to Marvel or DC for work, or anywhere for work, or leave comics for work, or whatever happened, and instead we could have sort of a safety net or a lockbox with enough money in it to be able to fund the book through the first 4 or 5 issues. For anybody that's done a creator-owned book, usually that's about when you start to see money come in, if anything, because it's been published for a couple months, and once that happens, that's when you start to see royalties. So for the purpose of this campaign, the idea was, from a pragmatic standpoint, to be able to fund the series through that starting point. The sort of emotional and I think ideological kind of purpose of the campaign was also important to us, which is we're in a time right now, it feels like real life is driving all of us apart, keeps us apart. You know, everybody's scared. All we want is connection. And creator-owned books are largely about connection. You know, they're about fans taking a leap of faith with us on journeys that are completely unknown, as opposed to when they're following us on Batman or Superman or Wonder Woman. You know those characters, and it's more about us shepherding you through our own sort of take on them. But this is building a world from the ground up, and that is that demands a kind of trust and connection. And so this campaign is all built around that, where what we wanted to offer wasn't like a lot of bells and whistles and toys, but instead for it to be something where every tier is about giving you a look behind the curtain into how our team works, about how the book is being made, makes you feel a part of the team, makes you feel like you can connect with us, whether you take a class with me about first issue writing, or you get a sketch from Tony, or you get access to a live drawing session from him where he's talking about craft and showing you how he draws and giving lessons. All of that was about sort of reconnecting with fans. And so the two big tiers, or what we're offering really with it, is the main sort of item is a special edition of the first issue. Comes out, we'll get to backers a couple issues before the actual series starts. It's black and white. It's unlettered, so it's just the art and the script. I don't really give away my scripts.
Interesting.
So, and so and it has all these designs, and you can get it hardcover signed, or you can get it softcover unsigned. And then we're excited. We haven't talked about it yet, but I can say it here that since we funded, we're opening our retailer option, which will offer the book at a very low cost with a different cover. So it's not the same book you're getting through Kickstarter, but it's the soft cover. It has a special dust jacket for retailers, and it offers not only it to them at a low rate, but we give 10% of those proceeds to Bink, to BINC, to help retailers as well. So again, the whole goal is just sort of like, trying to do something that we feel proud of creatively, but also trying to be a better part of the comics community and create a model with this that hopefully, if it works, we'll do for book after book. Because the other thing I'd say is that, publishers are struggling right now, and it's not in danger of cratering or that kind of stuff the way people talk about the sky falling. In fact, DC in particular had a great year. I know Image is doing really well right now. But these moments that hit all of us cataclysmically are particularly hard on retailers, particularly hard on distributors and small publishers. And by allowing us to have the money to make the book regardless, we don't have to lean on them. We don't have to take an advance or a pay trade if they allow that kind of stuff. We don't have to take time off to make sure we have enough money by taking commissions if you're an artist, or by me making sure I do film work or whatever I can do to get the money to make sure I can pay my team. It safeguards it so you, the reader, know the book is coming no matter what, and we're making it no matter what, and it's our job, and it's our thank you to you for supporting it early. So that's the whole idea with it. And my pledge to people, which again was sort of the second wave of what we're talking about today, is just I'm taking zero profit from this campaign. None of it is about like, look, I can make however many $100,000, and none of that. It's nothing like that. Every bit that I make post the funding of the first arc of the production of the book, that the money that goes to me after that goes into a lockbox, and then Tony and I will split what comes after Tony to continue the production of the book. And what I'm going to do with mine is to pay it forward to the next book that's already lined up for Best Jacket, which is my label that I'm starting for myself to make my own creator-owned books. So it's Best Jacket Press. Jacket is a portmanteau of my son's names, Jack and Emmett. Quinn came along too late. I didn't know how to put a Q in there in time. One day I'll figure it out. But ultimately, we wanted to have integrity, and the sense of Best Jacket itself, the reason I call it that is I wanted it eventually, and it's been my company for a long time. I just haven't used it publicly. I just want it to be something that you feel like you're putting on your best jacket. You put it on your big boy outfit, and you're trying to be a better writer, a better person, better creator, better part of the community, all of it. So it's an exciting moment for us, because for me, it really signals, although I still have a big project at DC post Death Metal, it really signals my move more centrally into creator owned and betting a little bit more on myself this year.
Hey, man, that's awesome. And seriously, I've been digging, and we'll talk about Undiscovered Country. There are people that are enjoying still and then want to hear about more witches and stuff. So, it's I don't blame you. And as I was telling you off the air, I was just talking to Ed Brubaker. This is a weird year. And I'm glad that you had these plans regardless of how the year has turned. And I do think it's important. It's the next evolution in creator owned.
It's the weirdest year, dude. It's been a roller coaster of pitfalls and highs, all kinds of stuff, and it's really hard. Honestly, it's hard right now. I mean, to watch. I mean, I'm in a place of tremendous privilege. I've had a great career at DC. I think people they assume that we're all rich or whatever from Batman. We're not. But that said, like, I'll be okay. I can weather, what's going on with comics. What really hurts is seeing so many people losing their jobs, whether it's retailers, whether it's, people that work editorially at DC recently, people I really love and care about, like Mark Doyle, who's the person who found me. Yeah. And seeing fans hurting too, seeing them be less able to spend money on stuff that they love. So it's a really crazy time. I'm sure more craziness is coming. But the goal with this, with Undiscovered Country and with death metal, we're trying really hard to give fans more than their money's worth, and to at least be cognizant of how, just how tough it is out there right now, and make sure you're getting more than you ask for with whatever we try and deliver.
That's, again, man, that's fantastic. And I do think creators need to be nimble in these very tough times. And I can also appreciate that it could be, a frustrating and debilitating from a creative standpoint. So I'm glad that you had these pieces in place already. And now more than ever, it's important for creators to be able to take matters in their own hands, just because, again, there are just too many circumstances out of our control. Like, Diamond didn't want to shut down, obviously. Yeah. Even the budget cuts at DC, those aren't human moves. Those are corporation moves.
Those are corporate moves, man. And you see these narratives that are ridiculous, that are like, well, if DC had done XYZ, these things would have happened no matter what. I mean, yeah. DC, actually, I don't know if Jim said this publicly. I assume it's public knowledge, but we're actually having a banner year despite COVID. I know people were worried about the distributor change, but between Black Label, our YA line, and the main tentpole books, Three Jokers, I think it's over 300,000 copies. Metal has sold, wow. 200,000. Every issue of Metal has sold out. Every issue of the tie-ins has sold out. Batman, wow. James is rocking out. It's consistently over 150,000. So it's actually been a weirdly good year for us, despite all of the terrible things that are going on, both in the industry and the world. So if there's, and the people that, some of the people that got fired, particularly, the ones that I know, like Black Label people like Mark Doyle and Andy Curry, who are real friends. I mean, Mark's one of my absolute best friends in the world. He's the one that found me at a reading for a short story I had done that was about, for a comic book anthology. It was an anthology of where writers wrote comic book heroes or villains of their own making. And he just came to a reading in Brooklyn for the book and was like, is anyone here a comic fan? And I was like, I have comics in my bag right now. I'm a huge comic fan. I've only ever wanted to do it. And he and Janine Schaefer at that meeting 11, 12 years ago were the ones that promoted me to DC and Marvel. So he's the one that got American Vampire in the door. He edited Batman with me for a number of years. He edited the first Metal until he moved to Black Label. He's editing American Vampire. So those kinds of losses at a moment when he was doing phenomenal work and his department was profitable. You have to be able to step back and just say, it's not AT&T's evil. It's not, it's just, we are right now, I think, at a time when comics is more at the mercy of forces outside of itself, whether those are smart corporate moves, not smart corporate moves, circumstantial sorts of upheavals because of COVID, because of politics, because of the economy, because of anything. Like, we're just more vulnerable to all of that right now. And I think that, it's a scary time in that regard. There are things that are very exciting about it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to be, I think that I honestly believe that we've needed to sort of adapt in different ways and become more nimble, both DC, but as an industry for a long time, and sort of celebrate the different aspects of comic book publishing, not as non-competitive, but as synergistic, whether you're talking about digital and print, whether you're talking about the way YA books get new readers into the store, manga gets new readers into the store, adapting so that we're much more confluent and much more sort of, I think, collaborative departmentally and also just from different platforms, so that everything is kind of funneling together, as opposed to seeing one thing as at odds with another, or focusing so much on the speculator market or the direct market as a way of putting all your books in there, as opposed to saying, these are the books that are going to work really well direct market. These are the ones that are going to work really well graphic novel market. These are the ones that are going to work well for a YA audience. And this is where you might want to test some stuff out digitally. All of that stuff, they're moves that we should make and we need to make. And I think we've been talking about them for years. So it's not some reckoning that's coming out of nowhere because of things happening now. These are seismic and geological like shifts in the industry that need to happen in different ways, and they're painful. And sometimes they suck and they come in ways that you don't want. But my hope is that we come out a stronger and more flexible industry and a more modern industry on the other side, you know. And what creators can do to adapt to that, I think, is just, you know, try things like counting on your fan base or counting on the audience still being out there. Because again, we were having banner years in different ways. Like Undiscovered Country, we expected a huge drop. We dropped 3 to 5%. Issue 7 sold out. I mean, that's not, I love the series and I couldn't be prouder of it, but that is not us doing something special beyond just making the series we love. That says that comic fans are soldiers who are still out there buying stuff that they like, and they're there. And so connecting with them directly, not being at the mercy of, you know, only the big two, making stuff that you care about, making stuff you're passionate about, giving people access to it through either crowdfunding, through digital publishing, self-publishing, however you can right now. That it's actually an exciting moment in that regard, because seeing the audience hungry for things that people are passionate about, that are new, that are doing it yourself, all of that, they want to get something real and sincere in that. And I think whether you're working on superhero comics, like Death Metal is all part. I mean, Death Metal is like a end of an era comic for me, you know, where it's all about that.
Interesting. All right.
And then, and it's about trying to not be afraid of the future. What Wonder Woman learns in issue 5 and what happens between is really, it's a love letter to comics and all of that. The whole series is. So, but making stuff that you're passionate about and saying, it's not gimmicky, this is real. Even when you're doing it in look, I juggle the balls on the bear on unicycle many times. Like, I'll go out there and I will be a fool for the books that I care about and I love. I don't mind, you know, being made fun of or any of that stuff. I'll go to the mat for the stuff because I know we put a lot into it and I love it. But the reason that I feel comfortable with it is the same reason that I think so many small projects right now are doing the kinds of things that are exciting a lot of us in terms of reaching out to fans directly, making sure that they have an audience that knows what their stuff is about and has access to it outside of these normal channels, is because people are hungry for real, sincere, interestingly unique and visionary comic books. So, and that will not go away. That's the thing that makes me excited, is like the lifeblood is very strong. It's a matter of kind of fixing the body in different ways so it can flow through it.
You know, there's an interesting question regarding this campaign for Nocturnal. Nocturnal #1, the collector's edition. I'm going to go to it. Gabe Hernandez asks, congratulations on funding your Kickstarter. Yeah, man, Jesus, that's amazing that you're already there. And the rest is going to obviously go into the works and, as you say, other projects. He says, it looks like you hired Camilla Zhang to manage your campaign. Is that true? If what's her role? And was her former job at Kickstarter a factor in hiring her? And this is great because this is the kind of, I think, interesting information that I think will help a lot of creative people.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, what happened, Camilla, we were talking to Camilla because we were planning on doing a Kickstarter campaign with them anyway before they had their firings. And so she had been a great conduit for teaching me and Tony about how to set up a campaign, how to, create a page, all of that we know nothing about. And we're old, so we're like, what? And so when they had their firing, I realized, I was like, you know what, if you want to help us manage this campaign, no one knows more about, you know, comic book Kickstarter campaigns than you. And she was great. She's been terrific. So what I would encourage everybody to do, if you don't know Kickstarter inside and out, find somebody like Camilla who knows it and will be there and show you. I mean, she's been fantastic. I can't sing her praises enough. I think she is exactly the kind of person that you want if you're starting something in Kickstarter and don't know what you're doing. Because for us, she was very, what do you want? What's the book about? What do you care about? It wasn't like gaming it or trying to make it something it wasn't. And she's helped us with the logistics of it in a way that has been not only helpful, but inspiring, because that made me be like, I see the math of Kickstarter as something exciting and special now. So yeah, and again, if you want to do a Kickstarter, and you don't know anything about it, I would just like, please find somebody as knowledgeable as her to help you, even if you just do a consulting thing where you just talk to them first, because there's so many ways you realize as you start it that it can fall apart. It's been so many hours of putting it together, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours, like me and Tony and our editor, Will Dennis, and all of that. Where
that's great that Will's editing it. That's terrific, man. Another one of my favorite
it's trying to bring it all full circle. You know, it's Will again with Mark Doyle. He was one of my first editors at DC, so I hired him. He's actually, I hired him on like retainer for all of my Best Jacket books. So he and I are partners working together. He helped me set up Best Jacket from the beginning.
That's great to hear, man.
It'd kill me to say as much as this, but I actually have like 7 or 8 books in production with behind the scenes. So we're going to start announcing more and more as we go. But it does depend on making sure we have enough to secure artists and all that stuff, so that I don't have to. Right now, what I've been doing over the last couple of years, because we started the whole idea of it about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, is to, you know, make sure that people, if they need to, can go do DC Marvel work, come back, do what they can on the side, all of that. So it's always just kind of however you can chip away at the indie projects. But the goal now is to just be like, let's go all in. Like, let's have enough to fund these books so that all 7, 8 can be being made at once. And we can find different ways of releasing them, some through Image, some through other publishers, some maybe we'll do digitally. I don't know. I talked to Brian about Vaughn about Panel Syndicate. You know,
terrific.
So I want all different challenges, man. I want to have my own stuff out there in ways that challenge me as a writer, make me exciting to myself. So that's really the goal. And again, going back to the question, don't jump in the deep end of the pool without help, because everything from like how much it costs to print and ship a lithograph, to fulfillment, to overseas shipping, to international order, everything is complicated, and there are many ways of losing your shirt. That's what I learned quick.
Totally, man. Yeah.
My own ideas with it, I'm like, we'll do this and that, and I looked at the numbers in the thing they gave me, and I'm like, oh, I would have just lost all of my money.
I hear you, man.
Find people that you trust to be able to help you through the math of it, that are gonna work for your project, no matter what their taste is, what they feel like about anything. And you know, Camilla's been great. We have a lot of the same background in common. From she was at DC, all that stuff back in the day. So, but I'm just saying, find somebody who's going to listen to you about what your project is and make it something special on your terms.
There you go. And actually, to build on that, Bradley Tan, a question: what's one thing you've learned in your career that you'd like aspiring comic book writers to know? And he says, congratulations on the funding of Nocturnal. Can't wait to read it.
Man, one thing, that's hard, because there's craft stuff, like inspiring creators. Like, I'd be like, as a writer, the biggest lesson I learned was from Greg, Capullo, which is adapt your writing style to your artists. Like, make sure that you're working collaboratively so that you get the best out of them, because they make you look better than you are if they're working to their
100%, dude. Yeah. Literally. I mean, I've had that conversation this weekend with Mainframe Comic-Con. David Pepos has got an artist I never heard of, and he showed me pages of his new book. I'm like, man, this guy looks great. And as you know, Scott, it's 90% visual.
That's what we're saying, man. I talked to David yesterday. Actually, I boosted his book. He boosted mine. I'm so happy to see Oz do well. He gave that to me, the PDF, about a month ago to read it. And I told him, I'm like, you have a total winner with this one. It's great. So yeah, it was exciting to see other people doing the same kind of model, where we're all in the same zeitgeist, feeling like the feeling is almost like this, like, to me, like I have a secure position at DC. I love DC. Marie, a lot of people I work with are gone now, but the person I've worked with the most, who's been my closest friend other than Mark there for years, is Marie Javins. She was overseeing all of the stuff I was doing when I was with Mark and with Rebecca Tay for a long time. So Marie was in the background, and then Marie took over, I don't know, three years ago, something like that. And so she and I have been, extremely close all through Justice League and all of this stuff. And we're friends outside of it. And so her promotion to co-editor-in-chief, I mean, on one level, again, like I was saying, how confusing it is right now. That's great, because I think she has a real vision for things, and she deserves it. And she's an incredible woman, and, on all levels, and she's just great. On the other hand, it's like, the fluctuations and the firings and the uncertainty makes you realize, like we're talking about, that it's important for creators, and maybe this is what I'd say to creators as not a craft level, is to take your career in your own hands to the best of your ability. Like, make sure that you're not at the mercy of these kinds of weather patterns that are completely out of your control. You know, when you have a good editor and all of that, like I was working with Mark. Mark's a great editor, everything, and you know, he's gone, and he was doing great. So it doesn't mean like don't work for the big two, or don't try to do. I love working there, and I've had a great, you know, run, and I'm still there. But these times have also made me understand how important it is to take control of your own career, bet on yourself, you know, be able to try and make direct connections with fans, and create your own IP, create your own material that you can be proud of, that you say, this is me sharing directly with you something straight out of my imagination and heart.
That's awesome. John Carlos on YouTube asks if will Best Jacket ever accept submissions? And will it be like a Skybound?
That's the goal with it, again, without getting too ahead of myself, is
sure.
To publish. I have the first couple, but like with what we're making now from the Kickstarter, it looks like I'll be able to pretty easily fund the book I want to do after this, which is I'm really excited about. I think they'll let me. We're arguing internally about like how much to say too soon, but I'd like to reveal what that book is in the next couple of days and show promo art from it. I'm being, pushed, being like contained.
I understand, man. No,
I'm always bad about spoilers.
You're not alone, Scott. A lot of creative people. Sometimes you're in the middle of, Project A, and you're like, oh man, but I really want to do Project B now. I can attest to that as a podcaster. I've got several podcasts that I really want to get to, but right now, a little busy with Word Balloon,
Yeah, well, it's also, I want people to see the plan, because I want them to invest in the Kickstarter as a way of seeing that it isn't just sort of a get this book and we're done.
Gotcha.
It's about paying it forward, that the money I'm making will go to the next artist. And my hope, honestly, is to even be able to do things like pay them a page rate and then not recoup that page rate from the royalties, which is something that, again, not to get too like sausage making, but usually what you do in a creator-owned book is if you pay your own page rate or you pay an artist page rate as the person running the book, then you recoup that page rate from the royalties before you give royalties back to the artist. It's like they're taking it in advance against the book.
I'm hip. Yeah.
That's Image does that, for example. Yeah. It's just the way it works.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping to be able to do things where I can pay artists and then not even need to recoup it from the book itself, and then we can just make gravy off of it that way for them. So trying to find ways of being a good creative partner, all of it with Best Jacket. And, the other thing is for me with Best Jacket, the goal, if I can get these first few books up and running, is to do exactly what that question was, which is to try and help also shepherd in projects that I believe in by being able to give them a platform and use some of the investment that people are making in what I'm doing, but also that other companies or publishers might be making in what I'm doing, to be able to promote books that are by people I believe in that are just coming up in the world. So that's my dream. My dream really is to be able to have Best Jacket be a place where I can publish a few books a year through different avenues, some straight through Image or other publishers in the direct market, some possibly different formats, digital or self-published, or maybe even a book publisher, prose publisher.
Great.
But then be able to eventually within a year start to fund or help fund books that would be by other people under that umbrella, and then have it be something more robust. So that's my goal.
That's great, man. No, that's terrific. And again, Kirkman's a great example of that with Skybound. I mean, I love hearing people that are doing Skybound books that don't, Robert Kirkman isn't on the title of the book and isn't one of the main creators. So terrific. I just put the Kickstarter URL again in the chat, everybody. So
thank you.
And I will have it absolutely, and I will have it in the description of this YouTube for people who aren't watching live. So don't worry about that. But no, I'm so happy for you, dude. I think it's terrific. Tony's a great artist as well. I'll be talking to Tony in a couple days.
He's fantastic. I can't say enough good things about him as a human being. When you do something like this, you need to have a good connection with the person, because it's a lot of stress. And his ideas, he helped create not just the main character and the main cast, but the environment. Like so many things, he's brought incredible ideas to. I'm so grateful to have him as my my co-creator on this thing, and we're full, 50-50 partners on it. So
that's awesome, man. That's fantastic. White Whale Comics has an interesting question, and actually, as you just described, it's the way that you broke into comics. Is there a way for writers to break into the industry without already having an artist to work with? And I think your story, can illustrate that. If you're
I think it's harder than it was when I broke in to break into comics necessarily directly without a comic to show. But if you do have, like, I broke in through prose, like I said, and I had a strong resume at that time in prose. I had a book out, a collection of short stories. I had won some awards, that kind of stuff, been published in a bunch of magazines. So one of the weirdest things for me was that I didn't have dues to pay in comics, which I always expected to have. I got thrown onto Detective Comics within a few issues of being in comics, and then I got thrown onto Batman right after that. And one of the things that caused me a lot of anxiety, and I think made me, not the best person to work with, I think early on, was that I just never felt like I was ready for those things. And I'm so proud of what we did. And there are no regrets with that. It's more that, imagine that you've always wanted to write Batman your whole life. And then you get in the door and they're like, you're writing Batman right now. And you're like, I'm not good enough yet. I don't know I'm not even good about paneling yet. I don't even know, I don't even know the ropes of, it's like you make it into the major leagues and then you're immediately playing, in the World Series that day and you're up to bat and you're like, what? So for me, it was really head spinning. And it was really, the first years were hard. I mean, in terms of emotionally and psychologically and that stuff. But in books, I had done that for, I started sending stuff out to be published in 1999, in 2000. So
sure.
This was 2009, 2008 when I had broken in and finally gotten a book published and that stuff. So I had paid my dues for 5, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, whatever, in books, and was used to all the rejection, used to all of it. So what I'd say to the viewer asking the question is just, you need something that shows who you are, whether it's a comic or a published story or a film, like a short film, something that you've made that shows you have completed something that's impressively yours, that you can hand over and say, I made this, this is my voice, this is who I am, and I finished it, and somebody else, worked on it with me in some capacity, so that whether it's an editor, pub, whatever, so that we made something collaboratively together, and this is what it is. You know what I mean? And you can't go in there with like a pitch. They're not gonna go in there. What people make that mistake all the time, and what I'd say is like going in there with a pitch is like going to a professional sports team with like a plan, like a play that you want to do, where you're like, this is gonna like, and I'm awful with sports, so forgive me for my mixed metaphors and everything. I know hockey, baseball. I'm not great. Forever. So but my handwriting still has my dungeon master. My A is like an old timey A. Like that's so. But what I'd say is, it's like, imagine going to like the New York Knicks and being like, I know what you should do for your next play. This, and you got to let me be point guard. And they're like, who are you? Like, what do you? But we'll take that play. Sure, thank you. And but they legally can. So do not show them your ideas for Batman. And I can't read them. Like, I'm legally not allowed to look at your pitches for licensed characters.
Of course.
So what I'd say is, pitches don't work. Ideas don't work, because again, they have people to execute. What you need to show, you're trying to show them that you can have an idea and execute the idea. The execution is really the key, more than the idea. It's showing that you made something that you can say, I finished this thing, and it's strong, it's solid, and it shows who I am. So that's the best way, whether you just publish it yourself on the web, on the internet, or you find a small publisher who can work with you, or you crowdfund it. You can break in through doing prose, you can break in through doing film or any other arts medium, but you have to have something that's completed almost, that says, I finished this thing and made it.
Absolutely, yes. And exactly, writing something that gets made, whether it's even yourself, in terms of making a novel or whatever. So yeah, man, and you're right. I've said this as well. God, I'm a novice, and I've said this to people. I've got a great Superman story. Great, Superman is enough of a template to create your own version of Superman and tell your story that way.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Make your own Superman and do it before you show anything to DC.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, a lot of people are asking, Scott, and you'll forgive me because I really probably should have watched our last amazing conversation where this came up as well. People are asking about your Nightwing pitch. And forgive me, I don't remember what your response was before, but just to satisfy them at the moment. So is that a Black Label Nightwing pitch? What is it?
It's a Black Label Nightwing pitch. It exists. It's in there. Mark is Black Label. So and it's with him. So I'm not sure what the status of that stuff is right now. I'd still love to do it. It was called Parabola, Nightwing Parabola, and it was very much about Batman missing, and the Bat family comes together to find him and uncovers a mystery along the way that kind of shows why Dick Grayson shows how each of them would be a different sort of steward of Gotham and how they would be different because of this. I don't want to give too much away, but something that Batman set up, something that Batman set up almost has like creates kind of an algorithm that projects the effect on the city of different things, and that's why it's called Parabola for that reason. And so it's a really grounded Nightwing mystery. It's not like Last Night on Earth or speculative sci-fi stuff. It's very, very much like a back to roots Gotham story. So I hope I get to do it. I really do. I have an artist for it and everything too. So yes. Well,
if they're smart, man, I mean, good Lord, Black Mirror, not Dark Mirror, right?
Yeah, Black Mirror.
Black Mirror. Good Lord, man. I mean, what a great run of 11 issues of Detective. Right. And I had bought Iron Man Noir. Wasn't that yours as well?
Yeah, that was my first sequential.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing, but I hadn't gotten to it yet. But goddamn, man, Black Mirror, I was just like, okay, this is something new. And it was really exciting to read. And of course, the Court of Owls. So, I mean, but as far as I think people, you getting back to Dick Grayson specifically, you get him. And I think that would be terrific. And I really, there were other times in Batman's past where Dick Grayson had to take over. Certainly post Nightfall, when all that happened.
Yeah, I mean,
Prodigy's a great story. It's a great story.
Yeah, but I think the thing that I love about Dick, and that I'd love to write about Dick more, is that he's the most empathetic character. He's the psychological and emotional detective, as much as people don't give him credit. He's the reluctant detective, I think, in Gotham in that way. And he's also the one that he's the most relatable. He doesn't have the photographic memory. He doesn't have, the drive that Tim has, like, as the detective. He doesn't have the pathos of Damian or Jason. For me, he has this kind of approachable, really compassionate heroism. And it's like, what if we got to be Batman, or we were in the shoes of somebody in Gotham? And he wears his heart on his sleeve, so he's very fun to write, because Bruce is hard to write, because Bruce is not the one that's going to be all, you're like, I'm going to write him being worried about, and he's like, shut up, we're going, and that's it. Like, you're like, all right, we're going, I'm not writing it. Whereas Dick is very much like, let me tell you again how I feel about this, because, and it's very cathartic as a writer, because your fears are easily expressed through him. So I love Dick, and I wanted to write him longer. I mean, there was going to be another year of Dick Grayson Batman before we brought Bruce back, but the New 52, bringing the New 52 together, really demanded that Bruce come back quicker. So I had stories. This was Parabola sort of was born back then, but it's changed quite a bit, because it would have built off of, it would have had James Jr. in it and all kinds of stuff that now I've changed it so that it's much more definitive. It's not like part of a run. It's much more of a meditation on Dick Grayson, the way that Last Night on Earth is a meditation on Bruce and Gotham and that stuff.
Okay, I know you and James are great collaborators on Death Metal, and I love what James is doing in Joker War with James Gordon Jr. And I think amazing.
James is James is exactly the kind of, like, it's funny because, you know, when your student becomes somebody that you learn from now and a teacher to you as a writer, there's no better feeling. And James and I know each other from when I was in books. I mean, James was a college student when I was a college teacher, when I was in my 20s, you know, like forever ago. And he, you know, he was a kid. He was 20 years old or whatever it was. And I was, you know, whatever, I don't know, 28, something like that. And so we've known each other forever. You know, we're both old men now. And the thing about James is watching him come up and become such a fantastic writer. It's so inspiring, really, honestly, to see somebody take Batman and make it superlative and a comic that you want to read the next week and all that stuff. Like, so I finally stopped telling him. I have like one thing that he and I talked about doing that I know is coming in Batman that I'm really excited about for next year, that, you know, I'll chime in with in some way, maybe do a backup or something. But because it's a story that we talked about doing a long time together. Okay. But for the most part, I tell him, I'm like, I don't want to know what's coming anymore because I just want to be surprised and enjoy the comic and just read it. And Jorge is killing it. Jorge is one of my close friends and amazing. And so I can't say enough good things about Batman, and I'm so proud of him for the success on that book. But, you know, that's the thing, man. Like, I came up as a teacher also. Like, that's where I was when I started writing, and I taught even through Batman. Like, I was still driving to colleges.
Oh, wow.
I taught it. Oh, yeah, I was still doing it. I taught comics classes through, I had speculators would show up at the class for me to sign CGC stuff sometimes, but I did it through 2014 or so, like that. So it was well into Batman, but I was at Sarah Lawrence and NYU, and I did it at Columbia for a while, and then I taught out here when that got too hard at the a school on Long Island up in Southampton. So it was I love it and I miss it. And then I taught the DC workshop for a number of years. And this part of Best Jacket, you know, and the workshop, we're hoping it's coming back. That was part of the budgetary planning before all of these layoffs. So my hope is that they're still into doing it. I'd love to do it in a more robust way with really applicable utility on the other side of it, where we have jobs for people. But you know, the seeing, that's the best part of my career, honestly, is seeing James and Marguerite Bennett and, you know, Tony Patrick, Matt Rosenberg, and Mags Visaggio, and, you know, Michael Morisi and Philip Johnson, and seeing these people start to make their own stuff and make it better than, you know, I could have made it, and have them be teaching me, you know, and show, like, they didn't need me. I mean, it was more just having fun, you know, teaching them what I know and letting them go off in the world. But that Chris Sabella, you know, within the class, like, yeah, just Vita Ayala, who's murdering it everywhere. She's
absolutely amazing. Good Lord. I just read her short that was in the Dark Metal anthology that came out today.
Yeah.
And I just met her a couple of weeks ago. She's a man. They are great. And I look forward to talking to them very soon. Forgive me, Vita.
No, they're awesome. Vita is incredible. So all of that, like that, to me, Best Jacket is reconnecting with that too, and being able to work with new artists, people that maybe some of them are real familiar faces, and I think people will be excited and happy to see me working with them. Some I've already teased, like Francesco Francavilla and Francis Manipul. But then there are others. Yeah, there are others, and then those are books that they're in production, you know, and have been. And then there are other ones that are brand new, like that. The one I'll announce next is somebody who I've never worked with, but I've become close with through an editorial relationship, and she's great. I'm really excited to work with her. So Best Jacket for me is about entering a phase of my career where I can be less concerned with, like, how do I take the Wally West that was in Flash Forward, make it make sense here, and connect it to something that's important to me and says what I want to say about DC Comics, which is a wonderful thing and a huge privilege and an incredible honor. But I've been doing it now for a long time, and I just want to be able to think more about that stuff, like the matrix of things that makes me proud of myself going to bed at night as a writer and as a person in the community. Not that makes me not proud. I'm crazy proud of what we've been able to do with at DC and the people we brought in, and the anthologies we're about to announce. The last stories, the last 52 is one of them. That's going to be fun. This battle, the final battle, has this 80-page giant that we're going to do. That's a lot of fun. But the people we're bringing in, it's like everybody from superstars that you'd be like, what? They're writing, like they're back doing that, and to people that are brand new, that are like, the next generation. And that's the kind of thing, like I want to look at an anthology like that and be like, I'm so proud that like one of my mentors is in it, and then also somebody I mentored. And that's what I want my career to be like in the next years, So I was able to do it with death metal, so a huge thank you to DC. But I want it also to be something I can do in a more robust way going forward with my whole career.
That sounds amazing, and I'm going to let another one. I know one of my favorite New Yorkers, and I bet he's one of your guys as well. Dean Haspiel is trying.
Oh yeah, I love Dean. Hey Dean.
So he knows that you worked at Marvel on a few projects, but given the rope, what characters or teams would you like to tackle at Marvel? And hey, there you go. He says Scott's one of the nicest guys in comics. Looking forward to his image imprint. There you go, man. Best Jack.
I missed. Yeah, I missed. Yeah, I like. We haven't hung out at a con in forever. So, but he's fantastic. Everyone should go follow him.
Hell yes.
I'd go to Marvel. I'd love to go to Marvel someday. And I have good relationships with people over there. I tried to really be supportive of creators over there that I love to. Like Donnie is a good friend.
He's a great guy.
We met when we were at a con together in Brazil, like years ago. And when Donnie was starting out, and we were all, we're all close. I mean, there's no rivalry. Sure. It's all ridiculous.
Matthew, one of your students, one of my favorite people in comics, kicking ass in Marvel.
Who'd you say?
Yeah, Matthew Rosenberg.
Matt's amazing. I want to steal him, bring him over to do stuff. but like, I mean, we're all rooting for each other, especially in this environment.
Sure. Zdarsky just wrote a short in the anthology from this week.
He's got another one coming. Where do you see?
Fantastic. I'm glad to talk to Chip.
Amir's coming back, doing something. I'm going to do some Black Hammer stuff. He's going to do that. Like we're all.
Hey, that's great.
We're all buddies. We came up together.
Yeah.
Like Jason, Aaron, and Rick Remender. I called Rick Remender about
That's
Jacket. I was just like, hey man, you've been doing this successfully for years. He was amazing about getting back to me. I called Brian Vaughn. Brian Vaughn, got right back to me, told me about Panel Syndicate. Like we all love this industry and have come up together and are grateful to fans and to retailers and everybody involved. You, John, all journos, like, even ones that hate me, it's fine. Like, but with Marvel, the characters I would do are, I have had a big story in my mind with Wolverine, Captain America, and Ghost Rider for a very long time. And the Hulk is the other one that I've wanted to do but Al is just murdering it.
No, he's doing a great job. Absolutely.
It's too good. I have to stay away for a while. But Greg and I have wanted to do the Hulk for a long time. I have a story called Hulk Smash Everything. That's like a big kind of, a big epic. But yeah, Captain America is the other one, and I've always wanted to do a story that involves other characters that have been around for a while, like have historical ties. So Wolverine, Ghost Rider, mysteries from the past that kind of come up and bubble up to the present in a really big way. It has to do with the iceberg he was frozen in.
Cool.
Yeah, so I would love to do it. I love I'm good friends with CB. Like there's Joe has been wonderful to me too, Quesada. So there's no animosity. It's more just a matter of timing and when things line up. And I would like also to give. I hope this doesn't sound weird, but I just want to give other people like some room as well, like where like at DC, like I've gotten to do everything I've wanted to do, and I still have things I want to do, but those things are like Parabola, where it's not. I don't think it eats up as much oxygen as like Metal, where it's like. Metal is something that holds the line up as a tentpole and demands a lot of resources from DC and a lot of, and I'm proud of it and I believe in it and I'm glad we're doing it and I'm glad it's doing as well as it is and it's feeding the coffers at DC and but I just feel kind of like also I want to make some room for new voices and other people to come in on the main line and be able to have some maneuverability where the things I want to do are a little bit more, they're still big, like, Last Night on Earth or that stuff that's big, but I want to be able to focus on creator owned and also do things that don't demand so much attention and resources from DC, so that, you know, they can focus on other writers and artists as well.
Very
so
cool.
I mean, that's where I am with Marvel. Like, if I went to Marvel, like, I don't want to go to Marvel in a small way. Like, if I went to Marvel, I'd want to go with Greg and be like, you know, let's do this and really commit and make a big, you know, a big epic thing, you know, on multiple. I really want to do it, but right now I just kind of feel like taking a year, doing my stuff, setting up my own label, setting up the books that I want to do, and, you know, and really trying to help and support DC as they kind of grow and adapt and evolve to what they're going to be.
Understood. Oh, this is nice. Thanks to Scott on being a word balloon. Thank you very much. Johnny. Oh, that's really nice, man. That I've been killing it the last couple of months.
Yeah, I've been watching all your stuff, dude, from Tom to everybody. Like, you're on fire. So it's a pleasure to talk to you about everything.
Scott, you know, I feel the same way, and truly, I thank all the creators for having the trust in me, for coming back and giving me great conversations. I just get out of the way and let you guys spin, man. I mean, that's the key.
You're being modest. It's definitely a skill to make all of us who are so used to being like, yep, you know, like, let me tell you today about Dark Knight's Metal guidebook is out today, and it's featuring these amazing creators, which it is, by the way. Becky Cloonan, Vita Ayala, like, amazing people in that book. Zdarsky's in it. Great story. Pick it up. Yes, it's about Harley and the Wastelands. It's fantastic. So there's that. And it is. I believe in it 1,000,000%. But the fun about coming on the show is that you're very honest and sincere, and you will ask us questions that probe beyond that stuff so that we can feel comfortable talking to you about where we really are with things. And this is, you know, I've gotten into trouble for it before in different ways, but I'm at a point in my career, not with you, but
okay, good. I feel
my goal right now is to just try and be, you know, honest to myself about who I am with what I want to do, and not care what people think, and care in different ways, you know, but also this. So I love these conversations, you know, and that's, and especially right now when I feel like that it's a priority for me to be able to talk to fans in a way that doesn't, you know, put a varnish and a veneer over everything. And Twitter doesn't really allow that a lot, where it's like, I only have enough room for like, firework, big banner, buy it, you know, like that, where it is what it, you know, what are you going to do? That's the nature of that beast. So.
Well, beyond being a fan of the books, I just like I am with boxing, I like getting into what makes the industry tick. And it's not to burn bridges or screw people's marketing plans up, but it is. And then again, we're in a very unique time right now. And it's great to hear you and people like Vaughn and Brubaker and all these other people that are going beyond. Nothing wrong with the local comic shop market. We want it to continue and thrive. But as you said, and I agree with you, putting everything in one distribution model, we see what can happen.
Well, let me elaborate on that for a second, because I want to know what people think. I'm not an expert, right? I just, you know, I try really hard to understand from people who know more than me, whether it's people super direct market, Brian Hibbs side of things, all the way to people who believe deeply in sort of, you know, moving heavily into digital and those things, and trying to find what I believe in that spectrum of things. And the thing I really come down on, or that I believe, and I could be wrong, so, you know, 100%, is that when we have everything compete in one arena, it winds up becoming a kind of flooded maw, where it's almost like there's too many things that could, like, what I like is the idea of the direct market being special to the direct market and creating great books that are really, you get more than your money's worth, and and the line isn't hugely reduced, but there's a specialness to it where they're backups. You buy it, you know, it gives you a real package, and it's really the kind of thing you want to hold in your hands and be like, print, you know, not books, but like a monthly comic books. And then the things that you're trying new things out on, you do them digitally, or you do them in a place where there's less risk, and you can start to build an audience for some of those things, so that when it comes to print, you're giving retailers something that has a bit of a tested road before it. And then for books, you know, things that work better as a graphic novel or YA, you use those as inroads into different markets, but that you try and find ways of steering people as they grow up back to comics through those. And but right now, my feeling is almost like it's such a cacophonous, like noisy you know, like, and we're in such a position where there's so many pressures and everything is so desperate because of COVID and everything that it's just like but if you take a clear, like a hard look at it and say, there are ways of making print not only thrive, but expand in different ways and special in relation to digital, where digital is special for digital, isn't just a distribution arm for print, but has aspects that are special to that attract people to digital in different ways. And then the package for print is something really special for print. All of that stuff is stuff that I'm learning about and I'm excited about and want to explore, because I feel like these different aspects of the market don't need to be at odds. And when we try and shove everything into one arena in some way, it winds up undercutting the things that would do particularly well in that arena. And it creates a mixed message when all of it, I hope can be synergistic, you know?
I'm with you, man. No, and again, you're right. And also maybe to gather a new audience that doesn't walk into the local comic shop, but might find this stuff interesting. We saw that with manga. I mean, really, the way
I mean, my kids, and I live it. Like my kids right now, like my older son, all he's about is like Assassination Classroom and Attack on Titan and, you know, Monster. He read Death Note and my younger son is Amulet, Bone. Then he's getting into now, you know, Avatar, Korra, all those things. Like they find their way in through all these different avenues. And our job, I think, isn't to sort of like negate those or say, we don't want to create books for kids that take different takes on our characters, or you want to say like, there's a doorway in, like through that to this. And
absolutely,
like they will outgrow that the same way they outgrew Adventure Time and outgrew, you know, that. And then they found their way from that to Steven Universe, and from that and now Witch Boy. And that you have to look at that, to me, as a trajectory, like where you're like I go back and I read the comics that I read when I was 9, 10 years old, and some of them are masterful still, and some of them are not good, but it got me in the door. And then, you know, and what I'm saying is you have to be able to say, these are readers that you want to pull in. So embrace them, embrace the medium in which they enjoy reading, embrace what they're reading, and try and find ways of pulling them in differently. You know, like the way to pull them in isn't to create, in my opinion, a comic that has no relationship to what they're doing, but has characters their age, and then you put it in the direct market in a store they don't go into. I mean, that doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
But I feel like we do that kind of thing too often, instead of like embracing the medium they like to read, the stores they go to read, and saying, how can we create stories with our characters that will grow with them so that they're ready to come in and as a different sort of audience here. So it's those kinds of things that I think, you know, we were the same way, like everyone was like, oh, movies are done when, you know, I remember when VHS came along, I'm that old, and it was like, movies are finished. And it was like, no, they're not. Everyone loves movies, but you have to understand that movies are experiential. You want to go see something when it comes out, and you make, you know, and then you have special things that are made for Netflix and streaming, and it's making everything special and work in its box as best it can. Or what are you going to be like when vinyl is going out? I was talking to my neighbor who made the video for me they're filmmakers, and their sister is in a band, a rock band. She's awesome, with her husband, and he made this awesome painting in my place also.
Oh, that's great, man. Oh, that's beautiful. Hold on, I'm going to sell you out. There you go. Wow, that's beautiful, man.
It was an abandoned glass panel he found and just painted on it. I just love it. It has all this text on it. So,
yeah, it's really great.
Anyway, we were talking about music and the music industry going through the same things, and she was like, it's like if vinyl, they love vinyl, but they're like, if vinyl had to compete with the cassette and the CD, and they were like still pushing it. And that's not to say print is vinyl, like it's that boutique or special at all. But their argument was that vinyl is having this comeback in this different way because they're embracing the specialness of it. They're embracing what comes with it, the packaging, all of it. Yep. And to me, there are opportunities in print, not that print is something that's outdated or any of that. That's not what I'm saying. It's not a one-to-one with vinyl. But the idea of something that it stops thinking of these other medium as competitors and embraces what makes itself special. And also, those other medium embrace what make them special. There's a way in my mind, for it to work as an ecosystem that's a lot healthier than what's happening now. You know, that's it. And I believe there's a big audience. I honestly think print can grow again to a great degree. I just think it has to stop being like a flood of things that aren't working within that medium, you know?
I do.
And practices that don't work, or the practices that put retailers at the mercy of too many things, you know?
I agree with you on all of that, man. Do you have to go? Because I know you might be pressed for time.
I can take, I switched around my schedule so I can keep going for a little bit.
Okay, that's terrific, man, because I did want to talk and mention that obviously Undiscovered Country, the new arc, just
let's do it.
So yeah, man, and here I'm going to put my glasses back on. Unity is the name of the new arc. And the team that has reinvaded the United States, for people who don't know, give them the pitch again on Undiscovered Country. Congratulations on the Eisner, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
we were very happy for you and Charles and company. Yeah. So yeah, because again, I think it's such a great idea. It reminds me in the best way of things like Commandy, but it absolutely is its own idea. So
that's exactly what the feel we were going for. That's one of the things I referenced, was I was like, I wanted to feel like Lost, Commandy, Land of the Lost, Indiana Jones, like that, because at heart, like I think I talked to you about it, but it's a very personal comic. It is engaged with, the moment, even though people are constantly like, oh man, like you have stuff in this comic that's happening in the real world. And it's not the correlation between the actual events, I think, that are, a pandemic and a retreat from the world stage, or, being banned from other countries, or factionalism. Those things, yes, like, and it's scary to see them reflected in a more literal way.
Yeah.
But the thing that we really were focusing in on with this comic, because it took us a long time to put it together, was something I think more resonant right now, but also less like, material in terms of it being in the news, which is, I just think that we're being pushed towards a greater personal and, collective isolationism, where whether it's what we're talking about, where you can insulate yourself from any opinion that differs from you, to insulate yourself with conspiracy theories, insulate yourself with entertainment, everything that you create your own reality right now. And there's amazing things about that. But the difficulty, I think, is that the loudest voices in the room are encouraging us not to reach beyond, like President Trump, reach beyond our sort of provincial, boundaries, and think of ourselves as part of one story, something bigger than ourselves. Like this country, its founding principles, the very idea that we the people, like the whole idea of it is this impossible idealism, with all of these terrible sins and all of these terrible sort of failures. But as an idea or a dream, it's something amazing to strive for. And we're all part of that collective epic narrative. And when you abandon that to say, my America is just what I think it is, and you don't listen to, like you start talking about, how it's at the expense of other people, like the idea, racism and sexism, and this feeling of, well, and some of the ugliest things that are being promoted right now by, again, the loudest voices on Twitter and in the room, it's depressing. And so this book is largely about that. It's about what happens when we break apart, when we fall into sort of different territorial camps and embrace that idea. So in these issues coming up, these are the issues 7, 8, 9, and thank you for selling out 7. That was a huge surprise. We're really excited. But 7, 8, 9 gives you a very big look at how things got the way they were. You learn about, in 7, you start to learn a little bit, but in 8, you learn about Sam Elgin and his relationship to the Graves' parents. But in 8, which I just finished writing now, you learn about the Great Migration, which is a moment in American history after the doors are sealed, years in, when they realize that each territory really has such a different character from each other, that maybe it's best if we all have a choice and can go where we want to go. But like, one is a territory out west that becomes the Zone Destiny that you've seen, where it's just live free or die, whatever you want to do, no laws, no government, but it supplies certain resources to the rest of the country, and that's all you need to know. And then there's another one that's more sort of based around socialism. There's another one that's based more around, but twisted views of all of it that disconnects each system from the whole, and disconnecting it from the whole, you get these mutated, crazy things. So it's really fun. Like, the idea is nothing existing in a vacuum is antithetical, or existing in a bunker or in a silo of your own beliefs, and not acknowledging the kind of plurality of everything is essentially the most anti-American thing possible. And that's what this world that we're exploring has become, even though it's got like mammoths and robot fish and all kinds of crazy shit coming. That's like big, epic, out of control bombast, especially in this zone where you see it's like you can create, basically it's a whole nano zone. It's very sci-fi and futuristic. We learned in the last arc that Ace figured out that the different zones are operating in different time, like space-time continuums. So essentially this zone is almost 150 years in the future from the present. So it's moving way faster. And so this is a lot has happened since. And so it's a zone where everybody lives everyone can create what they want from the nano material in front of them when they go home from work and have kind of the house they want, all of it. So it's a great place to live, but then there's a danger beneath the surface. So it's a lot of fun. There's like a big valley with these big, 100-foot monuments to American innovation, like a light bulb and a Model T all built out of this nano material. It's kind of like our big John Ford Monument Valley Western sci-fi thing. So I love this arc. You'll meet Dr. Jane, who's what you start to learn is that the founding people in this think tank that their parents were a part of, Aurora, and the politicians at that time wind up being kind of the benchmark, the big sort of flag holders in each zone. So you start to see this connected history between the characters that are running the zones and the greatest parents in the history of America. So it's a lot of fun. I love the series. It's a blast. Charles is one of my closest friends, and it's a great thing getting to write it with him. And Camo is a dream. So it's I just can't believe it's doing as well as it is, and it's a huge fun project. But for me, that was like dipping your toe back, where you're like, I want to do creator owned, but I want to do solo stuff when I'm ready. So that book, is a co-project.
Yeah.
And it was this one I wanted to start with Nocturnal as something equally high concept. I mean, Nocturnal is like high octane. You're in a truck on the roads, monsters attacking. Everyone wears like these customized light suits. So some people can only afford like candles, and some people have like light bulbs, and some have these high tech Lamborghini like LED. So it's very fun. My kid was like, "That looks like Fortnite," and I was like, "Oh no!" But anyway, it's a lot of fun, and I wanted to start with something like that for Best Jacket that got people in the door and felt propulsive and could create an engine financially, an engine in terms of like a true ongoing with another big creator, so that it would support the other books coming in as well.
Regarding Nocturnal, is it traditional like 20 or so pages per issue? I mean,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's the budget that we set up. It's for a 32-page first issue, which Tony is done drawing now.
Right.
But it's every issue is 20 pages after that. And we have a schedule lineup. So it's 6 issues, month off for the trade to come out, 6 issues, month off for the trade. Same as Undiscovered Country. So it's same plan. So real monthly, back matter, the whole thing.
That's excellent.
And what comes out not only will be in color, obviously, and lettered, which the special edition isn't, but it'll have different back matter. It'll have all kinds of other stuff. So
okay. And then Mark W. asked, regarding Undiscovered Country, do Charles and Scott switch writing duties every other issue, or do they both make a pass on the script and go back and forth?
It's we do both. So like issue 7 was me, issue 8 was Charles, issue 9 was me. So what we do is we get together, or we virtually get together now. But we always got together at this town halfway between our houses, and we'd bring a whiteboard. It was a bookstore. I love the book review. And we'd meet, and we'd set up a big whiteboard, and they had this little lounge area that nobody ever used. And we would set up a whiteboard and map out the whole arc, and then we'd do a written breakdown. So we have a written breakdown of like a 2 or 3 page document that says what happens in each issue. And then we go back, and then we talk it over a bit, and then we script the issue, and then he'll send the issue to me. Once he writes it, I do a pass. But it's usually very minor. Same thing. I'll send him my issue, minor. And then when it comes back for dialogue, we each do a pass. So we split the writing duties, but we've already built the whole scaffolding of what each issue is very clearly. We're both big fans. So for us, that allows us a little freedom to be able to do what we want on the issues, because the map is there really tightly. So like if I had to take a month off, he could write the issue the same way I'd write the issue. You know what I mean? Because it's there online. So.
That's cool. You'll forgive me. Chad from Mainframe was calling that the convention that we did this week.
Oh, so yeah.
I should ask you, speaking of which, DC Fandome coming this weekend. Will you have panels?
I am. I have a big metal panel. It's a lot of fun. It's with everybody involved in the book. So it's not just me and Greg. It's like Kari Randolph and Marguerite Bennett and, you know, James Tynan and Josh Williamson, and it's like all our metal buddies. Everybody that's in the band in any capacity is there. So it should be big fun. And I should also, I feel bad. I've been like talking to you so much about my stuff outside of DC.
Not at all.
It's just because it's in the air right now for me. But DC, American Vampire, I'm crazy excited about that. That's coming back in October. We're up to issue 5 right now in production, so we're in really good shape. And it takes place in 1976. I honestly would go out and say it's my favorite arc so far. It's really been in my head a long time, so it's very thought out. And then the death metal, I can't thank people enough. I mean, death metal, it's about Wonder Woman thinking that the solution is to get this crisis energy and cause a great crisis and restart everything and start things fresh with not from scratch, but like erase the last couple of years and just, you know, begin again. But begin again in a way that just excises the kind of mistakes they've made and the darkness that we've seen over the last years, and be like, we're going to start, you know, over. And the realization that comes in issue 5 and 6 that she not only like can't do that, but even if she could, it's the wrong solution. And then coming to a much more, I think, humbling and inspiring solution, which is about connecting to everything and not knowing what's on the other side, but using the opposite energy to connect to the past, connect to memory, acknowledge all the sins of the past, acknowledge the mistakes, and be able to make something going forward that's not a kind of like a reboot, but instead grows from in a way that invites in new ideas, but also, you know, respects the past. So it's a lot of fun. I have some big surprises for the end in terms of collaborators, and also
oh, great.
Yeah. There's one thing, if I can pull it off, I'll tell you. Like I think I'll tell you the second it happens, but if it happens, I think fans will get really excited. But it's a book that's very much about, like, I don't know what DC Comics is going to be in a few years, and I'm really hopeful about it, and I'm really excited, and I'm excited to be a part of it. But no one would say that they do know that right now. You know, it's all, there's plans, and some of them are really exciting, and some are scary in terms of, you know, but it's been my home for a long time. I love Jim. I love, you know, the people there, and but this event is very much about embracing that uncertainty and saying we love. And no, because I didn't know the firings are coming. Don't get me wrong. None of us knew that. But we all knew from the last year or two that, like, something is going to change in some capacity, and we need to grow as a company. We need to try all of it. So there's that sense of, like, wanting to make an event that said, I don't plan on doing this kind of thing again for a while, like a big event. This era is clearly, you know, the Jeff Johns, me, all of that stuff. Like, we're all kind of moving on to do different things, still some at DC, but just we're not in a room making Infinite Crisis. You know, we're not in a room making 52. We're not, and that world is changing. So I don't know if that will be there, you know, that same thing. So it's being able to say, we're so excited for what's coming. We believe in what's coming. We believe in the endurance of DC Comics in print, all of it. Like, and we're there to help in any way possible, but putting a button on all the storytelling that we've done for a while, and being able to say, you know, we're excited for who and what comes next, you know? So that's death metal to me, is that, and it gives everybody, it ends with a way that says, make it whatever you want. Like, it's, you know, not like that. It ends in a way where the universe is set, but the infinite possibility is back for what it could become in different ways. And I want that to be a feeling that you leave the thing with. No, it's not an ending, by the way, where it's like, and Batman dies, and then you haven't, we're not doing that. Unless you heard it from me now, and then if that changes somehow, I'll be like, I would never lie about that. I won't, I promise. I've never done that. But that, I'm telling you the truth. Like, the plans for the end are not, you know, Superman dies and there's no Superman or that stuff at all. It's very much about everything dying and being able to be saved in a way that says it's time for something both new and exciting, and something that's respectful of what these the amazing stories and characters that we have at DC have been for years and generations. So that's the goal. It's ambitious. I'm sure I'll screw it up somehow, but trying my best. I believe in it.
I honestly, I appreciate the lunacy of the story truly, because it's so funny. You think about it. The great schoolyard debate is, okay, Batman versus King Arthur, Batman, Godzilla, Batman, whatever. And you've really taken it to the extreme with all these alternate Batmans where he is the apex warrior that like, and Predator, that and all these iterations, Dr. Manhattan Batman, Darkseid Batman, Black Lantern Batman, Yellow Lantern Batman. I mean, it's fun watching Bruce with these ultimate powers, and now he has the ability to be this terrible version of himself, but still inherently Batman, who always wins.
Well, he's the idea with it, and the reason that I thought, because look, this went through a lot of thinking, like death metal itself, where I was because I pitched it back in 2017, 2016, as a sequel to this, as the final end of a lot of the storytelling we were doing, and a lot of it got done, and a lot of it got stretched out, a lot of it got added to, a lot of it got subtracted. Like the plan when we did Metal, the original one, was to do New Justice, Justice League, go out into the Luthor Batman Who Laughs kind of themes through other books, Superman, Batman Who Laughs, the book itself.
Right.
And then all of a sudden come clashing back together. But we were going to do that a year earlier than we did it. And a lot of the stuff that came from expansion, Year of the Villain, other things like that were a lot of fun to be a part of and try and help support. But weren't part of the plan as time, and Doomsday Clock also, we didn't know it was going to end where it did, and so there's a lot of moving pieces. But the plan was always, if this stuff is working, let's come back and do a death metal that seals everything together, brings everything together, and is connective. But ultimately, again, like the fact that we've gotten to do so much of what we wanted with it, and to be able to also make it a party, because I thought a lot about, like, do I do something more cosmic and simple? Like, because there was a version where it didn't start where it started. It started with the heroes happy, and I was going to end my Justice League with Perpetua going away. Everything's happy at the end. And there's a temptation. Part of me wishes maybe I could try that, and then part of me is like, no, I'm glad I didn't, because it's one story. And what I would have had to do with that is like end it, make it happy, and then death metal would have started with it happy, and the growing threat of, the Batman Who Laughs. And,
sure.
And for me, it was more like, if I have 7 issues to do everything, I gotta just hit the ground running and just go, and that's it. So, it's one epic thing, and the fun was, there was one point where I was like, I'll bring back the original Dark Knights. And I'm like, oh man, that's like, I did. So when I was like, well, what if I make, hundreds of evil Batmen, and the whole idea is that, they've taken over, and I was like, oh, there we go. And the reason I was like, is it just toyetic? Is it just for? And then I was like, no, because the reason I love evil Batman, and I think they make such a good like army of darkness in this thing, is because ultimately Superman the dark side Superman says it in issue 3, but the idea is that the alternate Batman are all Bruce's fears, and Bruce's fears about himself are his fears about human nature. He is himself a confident human being about human goodness, about his own ability to withstand temptation, evil, and yet these fears exist in the dark multiverse. And so bringing them to life is to show human frailty, to show human failing, to show the Achilles heel. These aren't like Batmen who, are sympathetic these are evil Batmen, and these are Batmen that have fallen and fallen to temptation in that way and become bad. And so an army of human failing all around us all the time, of our greatest human hero, or one of our greatest human heroes, to me is powerful. So I like creating these crazy ones, some for fun, some for real darkness.
Sure. Batman
to me has always been a hero about human aspiration, about human, the pinnacle and the zenith of human achievement. When you really, so seeing a scary version of him is much more frightening. And one of my favorite lines in the event, because we thought a lot about it, is when Darkseid Superman is like, he's talking to Superman, and he's like, Batman's fears are about human nature. Your fears are about what happens if you don't control it and you let it go. And that's why evil Supermen are like authoritarian all the time. You know what I mean?
I love that period. That's a great conversation.
That's what it is. You're not really scared of him being like a psycho. You're scared of him taking control. You know what I mean? And being the monster that he could be if he exercises this authoritarian power.
Absolutely.
Batman is more like, to me, is more like the worst of the best of us and the worst of us in one, package. And so seeing the worst of us is really scary.
I love it, man, honestly. And yeah, great conversations in there as well, along with all the crazy action. And I mean, just the idea that Batman suddenly becomes this consciousness of Gotham, I think is really interesting.
That in issue 5, that finally gets like brought to bear, where the Batman Who Laughs is like, attack them, and the whole city rises up and is like, it turns into this Batman made of Gotham and is like, flying. It's really fun. That's the issue 5. So it's a blast, man. I mean, I know that some people are like, oh, it's just crazy, it's too crazy, but the reason we did Metal the way we did the first one was we wanted to embrace that comic book lunacy that's there in Kirby and there in Starlin and in Infinity Gauntlet and those events that I grew up on, while trying to make something personal, but making it so bombastic and so epic that it just reminds you how fun comics are supposed to be. And so with this one, the goal was to just like Aliens to Alien, just do it and do it bigger. But still, there are days I'm like, I kind of prefer Aliens. And then I'm like, no, I prefer Alien. And I'm like, no, I prefer Alien. That I want that. I want it to be like they're almost apples and oranges, where you're like, wow, that one. Because what happens in 5, 6, 7, I mean, you'll see, like it gets deep, like it gets dark, where it's like Luthor. I'm going to spoil it, but Luthor.
Well, we saw Luthor at the end of 4, obviously, and that he's coming. So go on.
He comes back and he's like, what I know and what I've learned. He's like, because he's kind of the cast out son, and he's sort of like, there's only one way to do this, and he brings Lobo with him, and there's a whole fun thing with that. But it's very much like a revisiting of the DC history and the fear of how we have to make every moment feel like this is the moment only created for this generation, and that's it. There was nothing before it, and this is it. And as opposed to saying all these crises have created this knot in the timeline at different points, and it's made it so if we just let the lasso open, what does that mean? And that's Wonder Woman's realization in a way, and it ties back to all kinds of stuff that we've been seeding. And so that the last fight, though, where do you see Batman brings it, man, because he gets all the Batman you're talking about. We haven't done like good Batman, so it's like army good Batman, all the evil Batman you've ever seen, all the evil futures. The Batman Who Laughs creates basically a multiverse of the hero's worst fears. I'm spoiling everything, but now that the multiverse is kind of wiped out for the moment, we're not taking anything away for the long run. Okay. And now we're missing and gone right now. He's like, let me create my last 52. And he's like, and then it's like the evilest 52 worlds. And then our heroes going up against that, it's the best. There's a world that's like, I know this sounds insane, but there's like the real worlds you'd expect, where like the daughter of Batman and Wonder Woman runs it, Cull, and she's tough, and she's a scary fear that of what could. I think they could have an amazing daughter, don't get me wrong, but this is the fear. These are all based on fears of what could happen.
Okay.
So all the heroes and so there's one that's like a Batman who's I don't want to give too much away, but it's like the most epic battle you'll ever see, I promise you, where like all the heroes and villains are on one side, like the villains and the heroes, and all the evil futures and possibilities are over here, and it's like boom. And that's to me where it's like, there's no bigger finale than that. And I just want it to be like, thank you for letting me play with these toys. I'm going to put them back so other people can use them nicely, but I feel like I get to say what I want to say with them and go crazy. So
that's outstanding, man. That's hilarious. We hear it from Comics Misexplained. Is there a Batman version of the Presence, or is that impossible? That's a good question.
I did think about that. And, I thought about like, is there a Batman, the Presence or Source? But I feel like those concepts are so special, the idea of there being something, no matter what it is, that governs or is out there, or somehow lives outside of the boundaries of the source wall or the void. I didn't want to get too into that. We do some mythology, like the beings, we've created these beings like Perpetua, who are the hands. So it doesn't necessarily take over for the hand you see in the Chrono machine. But the idea is sort of that these beings they're called the hands, and they create different multiverses, and they're responsible for letting them go naturally. And ours was created unnaturally by her and then restarted, and she was sealed in the wall by her sons, the Monitor, Anti-Monitor, and the World Forger.
Mm-hmm.
And so you learn more about that. You see her civilization, like so we get out there, like we get out into the nether, like the outer banks of like the DC cosmic territories.
Yeah.
But it's also there's some things that we're kind of leaving. Yeah, I think it's important for people to have a little, as long as it makes some sense. I think it's important for fans to have a maneuverability when it comes to the spirituality of the DCU in a way, where I don't want to define it in such a way that it makes it literal.
That's cool. And Savior Forever, love all your work. What are your thoughts on the rumored Court of Owls video game? What do you hope to see?
I know. I mean, I haven't been able to talk about it. I'm not supposed to talk about it. Really. But I will say that they were Warner Brothers Montreal Games was really cool to me and brought me in, like flew me out to California a couple of years ago to see some of the initial gameplay. So I knew that the Court of Owls was part of it, and all that stuff for a while. But I haven't seen the game since then, so I didn't know if they got taken out or if they they are very nice about communicating, but I just try and you know what I mean. I want to be surprised, and it's not a horse in the race. And so I gave some suggestions, and they allowed me to talk story with them and give them some ideas and consult a little bit, which was huge fun. Jim was there too, so it was me and Jim.
Cool.
So I'm thrilled. What I saw back then was awesome, and what I think they've done with it since then, I'm sure, is even better. So I'm thrilled. I mean, you always want to see your stuff live on in different iterations. So I'm blown away and really grateful.
That's awesome, man. Dude, it's a very exciting time. As we said now, and forgive me because I don't remember the names of the anthologies. What was the one that came out today?
Oh, today is the guide to the Metalverse. It's like a guidebook.
Yes.
A lot of fun. You see how the world became what it is, and you learn there's stories about Aquaman, drawn and written by Becky Cloonan, Harley Quinn by Chip Zdarsky, Wonder Woman with Poison Ivy by Vita Ayala. I mean, there's a bunch. I do one with James and Josh and about Luthor. So there's how this stuff happened, and it gives you a history and a context for death metal.
And that's what I was going to say, man. Truly, beyond the issue, the specific dark metal issues, these books are not just side books. They're great stories and very informative, and really do keep you grounded in the chaos that.
That's cool. I mean, the stuff coming up, speed metal, it's important to us. That's the Josh stuff. And the next issue coming out, the Trinity Crisis, it's essentially an issue of metal. So it's like, it's really, really important. If you skip it, in issue 4, Sergeant Rock, he's like now a total zombie where he's like a head in a helmet essentially, and they're pulling him along as Ambush Bug is taking him up the hill, like as they're fighting, like, and he's like, let me fill you in. And so it's a lot of fun where he does recap it, but it's a big recap where he's sort of like, where have you been? You missed everything, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, there's nobody there. And he's like, let me tell you about it. He's like, they went to the dark multiverse and they found something different than what they thought. And this is, and so let's do it. And it's like, you're in it. So it is a key chapter, but if you skip it, you'll get recapped. It's fine, but I'm telling you, you don't want to miss it. It's 38 pages. It's Francis Manapul and me, just the two of us. He's one of my best friends. I love him. It's all about the nature of what a crisis is. We revisit the 3 big crises. A lot of stuff happens. Robin King goes to town on people. It's a lot of fun.
Robin King, hilarious. Para-Robin's hilarious. I love that they're all programmed by Burt Ward in there.
Yes, they have a lot of holy comments. So
yes.
It really is like me and Greg and our team, trying to just show why we love these characters and the mythos. And yes, we make them crazy, and Superman looks like a hair metal guy. But at core, when you see him do what he does in issue 5 and 6, it's Superman. You know what I mean? It's Superman. And Wonder Woman is Wonder Woman. And Batman, despite the secrets about him and the Black Lantern ring, and maybe, who knows what really happened to him in terms of why he's able to do this stuff, he's Batman. And it really is that. So.
That's awesome, man. No, and I look forward to it. I guess I'm gonna have to talk to Francis about his issue.
You got it, because we also have create our own stuff coming. So spoiler, but we do.
Absolutely, and again, in a couple days, I'll talk to Tony about Nocturnal, and the link is in the chat. I'm gonna put it there one more time, just for people that are just
honestly, supporting the campaign isn't just supporting the book. We have enough to fund the book essentially now through the first few issues. It's supporting the campaign is making sure that We can do extra things, and that Tony in particular is secure for issues 5, 6, 7. He, so he doesn't do commissions, doesn't go back to do EDC stuff. So it's a good cause in that regard. But anything I make on my end, I promise you, will go towards Best Jacket, will go towards the next artist. I will show you who the next artist is and exactly what's going, in terms of creatively where our energies and money are being put. And I want to do it like tomorrow, but everybody's sort of like, you got to wait. So we'll see who wins that battle. But yeah, please contribute if you can, because I promise it will all go towards good creative ends.
Well, dude, as always, I really appreciate your time and your thoughts. And congratulations with Best Jacket and Nocturnal. I think again, all the smart creators are really thinking beyond the local comic market, and there's nothing wrong with the local comic market, but it shouldn't be the only place to put all your eggs in one basket.
And the thing I'd say about that before I go is just it's I don't even think of it as thinking beyond it. I think of it as thinking of ways to actually help it by, like, this campaign, for example, allows us to make a book that is fully direct market, driven, like Undiscovered Country.
Yes.
Undiscovered Country, the way Charles and I did it, if we're going to be real honest, is Charles and I sold the option money, we sold it for film, if you remember, before it ever came out. So we used the option money to pay for the production of the book and recoup that money. And it wasn't a lot of money, but it was enough to get Camo going. So you always have to pay in some way, or just do it for free, make a book. So to me, it's not like leapfrogging or thinking past the direct market. This book is for the direct market. It's more thinking of ways that we all help each other be a healthier industry so that each part can thrive, So this, like, for example, and then I'll shut up.
No problem, buddy.
Let's say I pressured Image. I don't, they don't always do this or whatever, but if I said, like, can you help me with a page rate for my artist for this so we can get going? Maybe they would say yes, right? If they said yes, that's money that they don't have to spend on an up-and-coming creator who probably needs the promotion or needs something more than I do, right? So if I have a way of making the money myself and giving fans something personal, collectible, that is one of a kind, they're not going to get it in stores, signed, same edition, is not available in stores, then we all win, right? Because that the publisher has less money going out the door to somebody like me. I can make it myself. All of it is really fun. So that's the goal, so it is a good-hearted idea. I promise you that. Like, none of us are going in it to be like, money, that's the last thing we want. And I'm not even taking a page rate, I promise you. So I'm doing this book for free until I make royalties off of it sometime in the far spring. So I'm not paying myself to write it. You know what I mean? So it's just whatever I make is immediately going to the next book. So you're not paying for, like, my my new, like, whatever. I don't know myself, so I don't know even what I would say. But yes, you're not paying for, like, my gold lifestyle somehow.
I understand, man. I understand. Well, listen, let's if you're up for it, let's talk in a few months.
Yeah.
Okay, great, man.
I'm up for it anytime, John.
Okay, terrific, Scott. Genuinely, I really appreciate us having another great conversation so quickly, and happy to promote Nocturnal, a very unique first edition that is only going to be Tony's black and white art and Scott's script. So that makes it even more unique. And it's congratulations on the campaign and Best Jacket. I really am excited about what you've got planned in the months ahead. So keep up the great work. And
I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you, everybody out there again. I appreciate all the support on everything, sincerely.
There we go. Scott Snyder, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching Word Balloon today. A nice matinee conversation with Scott Snyder. We're going to do it again with Tony Daniel in a couple days. So as I end this broadcast, as I usually do, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy. Can't get out. Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.